My name is Jessica Martinez. I'm 27. My family treated me like a free employee rather than their daughter. Meanwhile, my brother Carlos, the so-called future CEO, could slack off at his corporate job while I worked nights and weekends, keeping our family's restaurant chain afloat. I sacrificed my marketing career, my savings, and nearly 2 years of my life, hoping one day they'd finally see my worth. But nothing prepared me for the moment when my father looked me in the eye and said, "Carlos will be taking over your position now. He's got the business degree." What would you have done if you were in my place? Share your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear your perspective because what happened next changed everything. Growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, I was always the one who solved problems while Carlos got the credit. Our family owned 3 Mexican restaurants called Martinez Family Kitchen, and from age 16, I was the one covering shift when employees called in sick, the one staying late to count registers, the one cleaning grease trap when the dishwasher broke down again. My parents, Maria and Roberto Martinez, would beam with pride when Carlos visited from his marketing job at a Fortune 500 company in downtown Phoenix. "Mijo is so successful," my mother would say, her eyes lighting up as she served him the best cut of carne asada. "He's going to revolutionize our business someday." Meanwhile, I'd be in the back office balancing books that hadn't been properly maintained in months, trying to figure out why our customer count was dropping 15% each quarter. When I suggested we needed better social media presence or updated menus, my father would wave his hand dismissively. "Jessica, you don't understand business like your brother does. He has the education." Carlos had a business degree from Arizona State University. I had a marketing degree from the same school, graduated magna cum laude, but somehow that never seemed to matter. The pattern was always the same. I'd identify a problem, work nights to solve it, then watch Carlos waltz in on Sunday dinners to take credit for the family success. When our Yelp reviews started dropping due to outdated decor, I spent my own money on new table settings and paint. When customers complained about slow service, I reorganized the entire kitchen workflow, but every family gathering, every business discussion, every decision about the future centered around Carlos and his vision for expanding the brand. "Why can't you be more strategic like your brother?" my mother would ask when I suggested hiring more staff instead of working 18-hour days. Their words cut deep, leaving me feeling invisible in my own family business, like a ghost who did all the work but received none of the recognition. 2 years ago, I had the opportunity of a lifetime. Red Rock Marketing, one of Phoenix's top advertising agencies, offered me a position as senior marketing specialist with a starting salary of $78,000, more money than I'd ever imagined making. The job came with benefits, a company car, and the chance to work with major Arizona brands like the Phoenix Suns and several resort chains. It was my ticket to independence, to proving I could succeed outside my family's shadow. But just as I was about to sign the contract, my father called me into his cramped office behind the kitchen of our flagship restaurant. The walls were covered with faded photographs of our family, immigration papers from when my grandparents came from Sonora, Mexico, and dozens of unpaid invoices scattered across his desk. His face looked older than his 55 years, worry lines etched deep around his eyes. "Mija," said, his voice barely above a whisper, "we're in trouble, real trouble." The numbers were devastating. Our 3 restaurants were hemorrhaging money, $47,000 in debt to suppliers, 2 months behind on rent for the downtown location, and customer traffic down 40% from the previous year. Food delivery apps like DoorDash and Uber Eats were killing our walk-in business, and we had no online presence to compete. Yelp reviews were brutal, outdated, slow service, overpriced. Our loyal customer base was aging out, and younger demographic didn't even know we existed. "The bank is threatening foreclosure on the original restaurant," my mother whispered, tears streaming down her face as she joined us in the office. "Your grandfather's legacy, everything we built, it could all be gone in 90 days. Please, Jessica, you're the only one who understands marketing. Carlos is doing so well at his company. We can't ask him to leave his career." My chest tightened as I looked around the office, seeing decades of family history about to crumble. The original restaurant had been my grandfather's dream when he arrived in Phoenix in 1987, with nothing but recipes passed down through generations and an unshakable belief in hard work. I thought about that Red Rock marketing contract sitting on my kitchen table, about the independence and respect I'd finally earn outside this place, but I couldn't walk away. Not from my family's legacy, not from the sacrificial love my grandparents had poured into this business, not from my parents who looked at me with desperate hope in their eyes for the first time in years. So I called Red Rock Marketing and declined their offer. The HR director was shocked. "Jessica, opportunities like this don't come around often," she warned. "We might not have another opening for years." I knew she was right, but family came first. It always did. Instead, I threw myself into saving Martinez Family Kitchen with everything I had. For the next 18 months, I became a marketing machine fueled by desperation and family loyalty. I started at 6 a.m. every day, creating social media content in the parking lot before the restaurants opened. I photographed every dish from 12 different angles, wrote captions in both English and Spanish to reach our bilingual community, and responded to every single comment comment and review personally. I spent my own money, $8,000 from my savings account, on professional food photography, updated menu designs, and a complete website overhaul with online ordering capabilities. Working until 2 a.m. became normal as I taught myself graphic design, video editing, and search engine optimization through YouTube tutorials and online courses. The results were undeniable. Within 6 months, our Instagram following grew from 200 to 15,000 followers. Our TikTok videos of my grandmother's tamale making process went viral, bringing in customers from across the Phoenix metro area. I negotiated partnerships with food bloggers, organized community events, and created a loyalty program that increased repeat customers by 60%. But every small victory felt hollow when Sunday dinners rolled around. Carlos would arrive in his BMW, fresh from his air-conditioned corporate office, and somehow become the center of every conversation about the business. Carlos thinks we should expand to Scottsdale, my father would announce, despite Carlos having visited the restaurants maybe 5 times in 2 years. He's got such vision for growth. Meanwhile, I'd sit there exhausted from another 80-hour week, my hands stained with salsa verde from the prep work I'd done that morning, watching my family praise my brother for ideas I'd already implemented months earlier. My best friend Sarah, a nurse who'd known me since college, tried to warn me during our monthly coffee date at a Starbucks near her hospital. "Jess, you're killing yourself for people who don't see your worth," she said one afternoon, watching me edit Instagram reels on my phone while drinking my 3rd espresso of the day. "When was the last time your parents thanked you for anything specific you've done?" I brushed off her concerns, still believing that success would eventually earn me recognition. "Once we're profitable again, they'll see how much I've contributed," I insisted. "I just need to work harder, prove myself more." But the harder I worked, the more invisible I seemed to become. My father would call Carlos to discuss strategy while I was literally in the kitchen creating the promotional materials that were driving our sales. My mother would brag to customers about her successful son in corporate while I stood right there, the daughter who'd sacrificed her career to save their dream. Everything changed when the Phoenix Business Journal reached out about featuring Martinez Family Kitchen in their local business comeback series. The journalist, Amanda Chen, had discovered us through our viral TikTok content and wanted to interview the marketing genius behind the brand transformation. I was ecstatic. Finally, an opportunity for public recognition of my work, for my parents to see their daughter's talent acknowledged by the business community. The interview was scheduled for a Tuesday morning at our flagship restaurant, and I spent the entire previous weekend preparing talking points, gathering before and after metrics, and organizing portfolios of my campaigns. But the night before the interview, my father made an announcement at dinner that stopped me cold. "Carlos is going to handle the interview tomorrow," he said casually, cutting into his enchiladas. "The journalist wants to speak with our head of marketing, and we've decided it's time to make Carlos's new position official." "New position?" I asked, my fork suspended halfway to my mouth. "Carlos is going to transition from his corporate job to become our director of marketing and business development," my mother explained, smiling proudly. "He's been so helpful with strategic planning, and now that the business is stable again, we need someone with his credentials to take us to the next level." I stared at them, my heart pounding. What about me? I created every campaign, every social media post, every strategy that brought us back from bankruptcy. Carlos, who'd been quiet through dinner, finally spoke up. "Jess, you've done great work, but this business needs professional leadership now. I have an MBA in experience with corporate-level marketing. You've been more like a really good assistant, 18 months of 16-hour days, $8,000 of my own money, sleepless nights learning new skills, and countless sacrificed opportunities, all reduced to assistant-level work. You'll still be involved, of course," my father added quickly. "Carlos will need someone to handle the day-to-day execution of his strategies. You're good at the technical stuff, the strategies I'd created, the campaigns I'd designed, the relationships I'd built with customers and vendors, all dismissed as technical execution of someone else's vision." The next morning's interview was painful to watch. Carlos, wearing his expensive corporate suit, sat across from Amanda Chen and took credit for my work with the confidence of someone who'd never doubted his right to success. He used marketing buzzwords he'd learned in business school, but couldn't answer specific questions about our social media strategy, our target demographic analysis, or the timeline of our turnaround. "The key to our success has been leveraging multi-channel digital marketing to create synergistic brand engagement," he said, sounding like he was reading from a text. Amanda looked confused. "Can you be more specific about your TikTok strategy? Your videos have incredible engagement rates." Carlos glanced at me nervously. "Well, we focus on authentic storytelling that resonates with our core demographic." I watched him fumble through explanations of campaigns I'd conceptualized, created, and executed entirely alone. Every "we" that came out of his mouth felt like a knife twist. Every strategic insight he claimed as his own was another piece of my identity being erased. After the interview, my father pulled me aside with a list of new expectations for my supporting role. Carlos would need me to create detailed reports of all my previous campaigns so he could optimize our approach going forward. I would continue managing day-to-day social media posting, but all content would need Carlos's approval. My access to the business bank account would be revoked since Carlos would now handle marketing budget and vendor relationship. This is a good thing, mija, my father insisted when he saw the shock on my face. You'll learn so much from working under Carlos's guidance. He can teach you how to think more strategically. Learn from Carlos? The same Carlos who just spent 30 minutes unable to explain the difference between organic and paid social media reach? Over the following weeks, the demands became increasingly insulting. Carlos wanted me to compile a knowledge transfer document explaining every vendor relationship, every successful campaign strategy, every customer insight I'd developed. Essentially, he wanted me to train him to replace me using my own expertise. When I pushed back, suggesting that my experience should qualify me for a leadership role, my mother sighed in frustration. Jessica, you're being selfish. This family business needs unity, not competition between siblings. Carlos has education and corporate experience. You should be proud to support your brother's success. Support my brother's success? I was being asked to document my own intellectual property so he could claim it, to take a subordinate role in campaigns I'd created, to smile and nod while he collected praise for my work. The final straw came 3 weeks later, on a humid Thursday evening in July. The Phoenix Business Journal had published their feature story, and Carlos was basking in the attention. The article called him a marketing visionary who transformed his family's struggling restaurant through innovative digital strategies. My name appeared exactly once in a caption identifying me as family member Jessica Martinez, who assists with social media posting. I sat in the empty restaurant after closing time, reading the article on my phone while cleaning tables that still bore the remnants of our busiest dinner service in 2 years, a direct result of campaigns I'd built from nothing. My parents and Carlos were in the office, probably planning how to leverage this media attention for future growth. That's when Carlos emerged with a new demand that shattered my last thread of hope. Jess, I need you to transfer all the business social media accounts to my personal email, he said, not even looking up from his own phone. And I'll need the passwords to our vendor accounts too. I'm restructuring how we manage external relationships. Why do you need my vendor relationships? I asked, though I already knew the answer was going to hurt. Well, I'm bringing in a real marketing agency to handle our strategy going forward, he explained casually. Phoenix Digital Solutions has offered to take over our social media management and advertising campaigns. They have certified professionals and advanced analytics capabilities. Phoenix Digital Solutions. I knew them. They charged $8,000 per month for services I was providing in-house, services I'd taught myself to provide after saving our business from bankruptcy. So what exactly would my role be? I asked, my voice barely steady. Carlos finally looked up, his expression a mixture of pity and condescension. Look, you've done good work, but this business needs to scale professionally now. Maybe you could help with, I don't know, customer service, answer phones, handle complaints. We'd pay you, of course. Maybe $15 an hour? $15 an hour. For the person who'd saved their business, who'd worked 18-hour days without pay, who'd invested her own money and career prospects into their success. My father appeared in the doorway, nodding approvingly. Carlos is right, mija. It's time to let the professionals handle the marketing. You can focus on operations. That's more suitable anyway. That's when my mother joined them, completing the family tribunal that was about to deliver the final verdict on my worth. Besides, she added, Carlos needs to establish his authority. Having his sister running marketing creates confusion about who's in charge. The three of them stood there, united in their casual dismissal of everything I'd accomplished. In that moment, I realized that no amount of success, no level of sacrifice, no degree of expertise would ever make me equal in their eyes. I would always be the daughter who should be grateful for whatever scraps of recognition they chose to throw my way. I stood up slowly, my hands shaking as I pulled my phone from my pocket. You want the social media password? I asked quietly. Finally, Carlos said, relief evident in his voice. I was starting to think you were going to be difficult about this. I looked at each of them, my parents who'd raised me to believe family loyalty trumped personal dreams, and my brother who'd waltzed in to claim credit for my blood, sweat, and tears. Then I made a decision that surprised even me. The passwords are in my head, I said calmly, and my head is walking out that door. I grabbed my purse, my laptop bag, and the portfolio of my work that I'd been asked to transfer to Carlos. My father called after me as I headed toward the exit. Jessica, don't be dramatic. We can discuss this like adults. But I was done discussing, done explaining, done begging for recognition from people who would never see me as anything more than free labor, with a family obligation to smile about it. I turned back one last time and said the words that had been building in my chest for 18 months. Good luck explaining to Phoenix Digital Solutions how to recreate 2 years of my work. Good luck maintaining relationships with vendors who know my face and trust my word. And good luck explaining to your customers why the person who actually saved this business just walked away. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt like I could breathe. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. My parents were panicking. Carlos had tried to log into our Instagram account using what he thought was password, only to discover that I'd changed all the credentials financials the night before. Our scheduled social media posts hadn't gone live. Customer inquiries were piling up unanswered, and 3 vendor deliveries had been delayed because I was the only one who knew the specific contacts and ordering procedures. My phone buzzed with increasingly frantic messages. Jessica, please don't be childish. Come back and we'll talk. Dad, Mija, you're hurting the family business. Is that what you want? Mom, this is unprofessional. I need those passwords now. Carlos, but I was already 3 steps ahead. I'd spent the sleepless night after walking out doing something I should have done months earlier. I researched my legal rights regarding intellectual property I created while working for the family business. Turns out, social media accounts created using my personal email, vendor relationships built through my direct contact, and creative campaigns developed without written contracts belong to me, not to the business. I also discovered something interesting when I dug into our financial records, which I still had access to through the accounting software I'd set up. Carlos's corporate experience apparently hadn't taught him basic business analysis. The marketing budget he'd proposed to my parents, $12,000 per month for Phoenix Digital Solutions, plus $5,000 additional advertising, would eat up nearly 40% of our monthly profit. The same results I'd been delivering for the cost of my unpaid labor were about to become a massive financial burden. By noon, my father showed up at my apartment looking haggard and desperate. Through my peephole, I could see him pacing in the hallway, clutching printed emails and financial statements. Jessica, open the door. We need to talk, he called out. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered 18 months of being treated like an intern in my own family's business, and my resolve hardened. There's nothing to talk about, Dad, I replied through the door. You made your choice. Carlos is your marketing director now. Let him direct. The customers are asking for you on social media, he pleaded. They know your face. They trust you. Carlos doesn't know how to respond to them. Of course he didn't. Carlos had never spent hours reading customer reviews, learning individual preferences, building personal relationships with people who'd been coming to our restaurants for years. He'd never stayed late to chat with the elderly couple who came in every Friday, learning about their grandchildren so he could ask about them in future posts. He'd never memorized the names of regular customers' kids so he could surprise them with personalized desserts on their birthdays. That afternoon, I drove past our flagship restaurant and saw Carlos's BMW in the parking lot, but the now hiring sign in the window told me everything I needed to know. Without my unpaid labor handling social media, customer service, vendor relationships, and half a dozen other tasks, they needed to hire additional staff they couldn't afford. By the end of the week, their situation had deteriorated further. Phoenix Digital Solutions required a 3-month contract commitment and wanted 2 weeks to audit the existing brand strategy before implementing the new campaigns. During that gap, our social media engagement dropped 80%. Several negative Yelp reviews appeared complaining about unresponsive customer service, and 2 major suppliers put their accounts on hold due to payment confusion. I watched it all unfold from the outside, feeling a mixture of vindication and sadness. This was my family, my heritage, my grandfather's dream, but it was also the place that had taught me I would never be enough. That first week of freedom was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. I had $12,000 in savings, what remained after investing in the family business, a laptop full of portfolio work I'd created, and absolutely no idea what came next. But for the first time in 18 months, I woke up without the crushing weight of family expectations on my chest. I started by reaching out to Amanda Chen, the journalist who'd interviewed Carlos. When I explained that I was the actual creator behind Martinez Family Kitchen's marketing transformation, she was fascinated and furious that she'd been misled. Would you be interested in a follow-up story? She asked during our coffee meeting at a downtown Phoenix cafe. The real story behind the comeback? I think our readers would be very interested in hearing from the actual marketing strategist. That conversation led to my first freelance opportunity. Amanda introduced me to her friend Marcus, who owned 3 trendy coffee shops in Scottsdale and was struggling with social media marketing. He'd been paying $4,000 per month to a marketing agency that was delivering generic content and minimal engagement. I've seen what you did for your family's restaurant, Marcus said during our first meeting at his flagship location, a converted warehouse space with exposed brick walls and local art installations. I don't need corporate buzzwords and fancy presentations. I need results. Within 2 weeks, I'd created a social media strategy that showcased his shop's unique aesthetic, highlighted local artists whose work decorated the walls, and created partnerships with Arizona State University students who became brand ambassadors. His Instagram engagement increased 200% in the first month, and foot traffic from social media referrals jumped 150%. Marcus was thrilled, and more importantly, he paid me $3,000 for that first month's work, double what I would have made in an entire month at the family restaurant if they'd actually been paying me. Word spread quickly through Phoenix's small business community. Jessica Martinez, the marketing strategist behind the Martinez Family Kitchen turnaround, was available for freelance project. My phone started ringing with inquiries from restaurant owners, retail shops, fitness studios, and service businesses who'd heard about my work through referrals. I created a simple website showcasing my portfolio, including before and after other metrics from the family restaurant campaign. I called my business Desert Bloom Marketing, a name that represented growth flourishing in harsh conditions, which felt deeply personal given my recent experience. Within 3 months, I had 7 regular clients paying me between $2,000 and $5,000 per month each. My smallest retainer was more than I had ever been offered by my own family, and my largest client, a Phoenix-based spa chain, was paying me $8,000 a month for comprehensive digital marketing management. But the real transformation wasn't just financial. For the first time in my adult life, I was working with people who valued my expertise, who implemented my suggestions, who thanked me for results achieved. When the spa owner saw a 40% increase in bookings after my social media campaign launch, she sent me a bonus check along with a handwritten note. Thank you for understanding our brand better than we understood it ourselves. Meanwhile, the Martinez family kitchen empire was crumbling without my unpaid labor propping it up. Sarah, my nurse friend who'd been trying to warn me for months, kept me updated on the situation through mutual acquaintances in the Phoenix food scene. Phoenix Digital Solutions had lasted exactly 6 weeks before Carlos fired them. Their generic social media posts, stock photos, with bland captions like, "Come enjoy authentic Mexican cuisine," had generated almost zero engagement. Customers were complaining that the restaurant's online personality had disappeared, that no one was responding to comments or concerns, that the personal touch they'd loved was gone. Without my vendor relationships, supply costs had increased 30%. The distributors I'd cultivated over months of personal relationship building were now treating Martinez Family Kitchen as just another account, without the priority service and flexible payment terms I'd negotiated during our financial crisis. Most damaging was the staffing crisis. They'd hired 2 part-time employees to handle the tasks I'd been doing alone: social media management, customer service, vendor coordination, and marketing execution. But part-time employees making $12 an hour didn't have the same investment in success that a family member working for recognition had provided. Customer complaints started appearing on Yelp and Google reviews. The family touch is gone. Service has declined significantly. It doesn't feel like the same restaurant anymore. Their overall rating dropped from 4.6 stars to 3.8 stars within 4 months. Carlos, who'd been so confident about bringing professional management to the business, was drowning in responsibilities he'd never handled before. He'd quit his corporate job to focus on the family business, only to discover that marketing expertise couldn't be transferred through a knowledge document or learned from a business school textbook. The breaking point came when their landlord for the downtown location, the original restaurant that held the most sentimental value, refused to renew their lease due to late rent payments and declining foot traffic. Without my cost-cutting measures and revenue optimization strategies, they couldn't maintain the same profit margins they'd achieved during my tenure. My parents, who'd been so eager to hand leadership to their educated son, watched their life's work begin to unravel. The business that had been growing and thriving under my management was now struggling to break even, bleeding money on expensive marketing solutions that delivered a fraction of my result. Through the Phoenix Small Business Network, word got back to me that Carlos had approached 3 different marketing agencies, desperately trying to find someone who could recreate the magic I'd brought to their brand. But magic can't be outsourced. It comes from genuine understanding, personal investment, and authentic connection with customers and community. 6 months after I walked away, they were forced to close 2 of their 3 locations. The inevitable plea for help came on a Tuesday evening in November, almost 8 months after I'd walked out. I was working late in my new home office, a converted spare bedroom, in a condo I'd been able to afford thanks to my freelance success, when my phone rang. My mother's name appeared on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was exactly what I'd expected, a mixture of desperation, guilt, and manipulation wrapped in maternal concern. "Mija, please call me back. Your father he's been having chest pains from the stress. The doctors say it's his heart, but I know it's really about losing the business. We made mistakes, yes, but we're family. Family forgives. We need you to come back and help us save what's left. Carlos admits he was wrong. He never should have tried to take over your work. Please, for your grandfather's memory, don't let his legacy die because of pride." I listened to the message 3 times, feeling the familiar tug of family guilt and obligation. Then I looked around my office, decorated with framed testimonials from satisfied clients, certificates from marketing courses I'd taken to improve my skills, and a vision board filled with goals I was actually achieving for the first time in my life. I thought about my current client, Marcus, whose coffee shops were now profitable enough for him to open a 4th location, the spa owner, who credited me with saving her business during COVID-19, the boutique fitness studio that had gone from 12 members to over 200 thanks to social media campaigns I'd created. These were people who valued my expertise, paid me fairly, and treated me with professional respect. I crafted my response carefully, editing it multiple times before sending. "Mom, I'm sorry to hear about Dad's health issues, and I hope he gets the medical care he needs. However, I won't be returning to work for the family business. I've built a successful career serving clients who value my expertise, and I won't sacrifice that again. I wish you and Carlos all the best in your business endeavors. Please don't contact me about this matter again." The hardest part was blocking their phone numbers afterward, but I knew that any ongoing contact would just must be more attempts to guilt me back into unpaid labor disguised as family loyalty. Sarah, my loyal friend, who'd watched me transform from an exhausted, unappreciated family employee into a confident business owner, took me out for dinner that night to celebrate my boundary setting. You know what the best part is? She asked over margaritas at a trendy downtown restaurant. You didn't just walk away from them, you walked toward yourself. She was right. For the first time in my adult life, I was building something that belonged entirely to me. Looking back now, almost a year later, I realized that the greatest gift my family ever gave me was showing me exactly how much I was worth, treating me like I was. Their dismissal forced me to value myself, their betrayal taught me to trust my instinct, and their greed pushed me to build something they could never take away. Desert Bloom Marketing now has 15 regular clients and generates over $40,000 per month in revenue. I've hired 2 part-time contractors and am planning to move into a proper office space next year. Last month, I was invited to speak at a Phoenix Women in Business conference about building a successful marketing consultancy, recognition that came from strangers who valued my expertise, not family members who demanded my loyalty. The real transformation isn't measured in dollars or client testimonials. It's measured in self-respect. I wake up every morning knowing that my work matters, that my efforts are appreciated, and that my success belongs to me. No one can take credit for campaigns I create. No one can dismiss my expertise as technical stuff, and no one can reduce my professional value to family obligation. The Martinez family kitchen story became a cautionary tale in Phoenix's small business community, not about family drama, but about the importance of recognizing and compensating talent wherever it exists. Several business owners have told me they restructured how they work with family members after hearing what happened. So here's my question for you. Have you ever found yourself giving everything to give you nothing in return? Whether it's family, friends, or employers, have you ever been the person doing the work while someone else collects the credit? And if so, what did it take for you to finally walk away? I know some of you might be thinking, I should have tried harder to work things out with my family. That blood is thicker than water. That I should have been grateful for any opportunity to contribute to the family legacy. But here's what I learned. Loyalty without respect is just exploitation with better marketing. Your worth isn't determined by other people's ability to see it. Your value doesn't decrease because someone else fails to appreciate it. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them is to stop enabling their disrespect by removing yourself from the situation entirely. If my story resonates with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Hit that like button if you believe everyone deserves to be valued for their contributions, regardless of family dynamics or corporate politics, and subscribe for more stories about turning life's biggest challenges into unexpected opportunities. Because sometimes, the best thing that can happen to you is discovering that you're strong enough to succeed without the people who convinced you that you needed them. What do you think? Did I make the right choice walking away from my family's business to build my own? Or should I have stayed and fought harder for recognition? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear about your own experiences with family dynamics and career decisions. Remember, you are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Sometimes, the most revolutionary act is simply refusing to accept less than you deserve.